Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are live with Bubba Da Vinci. This is Coffee with Bubba. It's a beautiful Wednesday, hump day, and things are looking up. Have a little bit more energy. We got some stuff done yesterday, got some things lined back up. I'll cover all that stuff. Got some exciting things going on. But yeah, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as Mr. Rogers used to say. So, last couple of days, you guys have noticed and that I probably looked a little tired. And, we talked yesterday about all the things that were going on with travel. And I hate to say it, the Hurricane Debbie is not getting any better. It has gone through Florida. 5 people had died. I don't know what the new numbers are in Florida. And it is now working its way up through the Carolinas, up the coast. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, I think this is going to be kind of messy, but it's, what can you do? It's weather. But for me, the good news is that I was able to get the Jeep back on the road. It looks like it will make it there Friday, no later than Saturday, which is good. And was able to rearrange a bunch of other travel and everything else. So it looks like we're back on track. My good friend Billy, the Trainer Club Lutz, is actually on his way to the airport, or maybe even be in the air now, on his way to Florida. I have now moved my trip to tomorrow, and because of that, I had actually 2 travel dates. I had told you guys my daughter is doing a donation. And I was going to see her, so I was doing a pre-trip and then doing a next trip, and I was going to be traveling again tomorrow night for work stuff. But I should have been traveling today to get to there to be with her. Unfortunately, because of the storm, they moved her to a different location, and so my travel's all crazy. So tonight I will be here, where I thought I was going to be down in Florida broadcasting live. With my 2 guests tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that would have been the CEO of Stout Nutrition, Dan, and Billy Lutz will also be in Florida tonight, and he'll be joining us live from Florida. And I'll be here. I'll be here in Iowa. And then tomorrow morning, I will do the show first thing in the morning. And then I will be jumping on a plane and heading down to Florida also. I do not arrive till very late in the evening with a layover. So we will not be doing a Thursday 7 p.m. show. That's the reason we're doing it tonight. Is the thought process is we would both be down in Florida this evening, and I could have done the broadcast from the show. Now, this will be my first show from the road. I do not know what it'll look like. I have packed gear. I will have a laptop with me. I will have a camera. I don't have a travel mic yet. I haven't figured that portion out. That's part of my plan for today. I'm sure I could probably use the mic on the laptop, but we'll see. I don't know if that's the best solution. Yeah. Well, so that's where we're going. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my rise, because it is a sunny day. So we are going to rise and shine for the day. I did go back to the coffee. I am going to take, I believe, I haven't made the final decision, but I'm going to take the matcha on the road with me. I think it's easier to do. The flavor, I think it might be a little bit better. It will also depend 100% on the answers I get from Billy and from Dan this evening, because as of tomorrow, on the tomorrow show, I will have made up my week. I'm feeling fairly thin. I think I'm looking kind of thin through the face. I definitely feel like I've lost some weight, and I'm going to guess I hit that 10-pound mark. Easy. And then we'll check the blood sugar. And then we'll get talking about the next week. But the great news about tomorrow is after I finish all of Thursday, Friday, I get to start moving in more solid food. And more importantly than that, I get to start adding other drinks and things and maybe hopefully a little bit of sweeteners and things like that into my daily routine. And I can see how that goes. Excuse me. And that's very exciting for me. I mean, we're traveling. I was really trying to figure out how I would package beef broth to travel around with me. That makes absolutely no sense in trying to do that. I was also looking at other things that I could possibly do in order to do things. But the good news is I get to just eat healthy. I've been doing a lot of research on my menu. I think one of the things I'm going to instantly jump back into, which is a very easy food to digest and very healthy for diabetics, is fish. And since I'll be in Florida for 4 days, then I think making sure fish is the primary portion of my meal, at least for potentially lunch and dinner. If I don't do some sort of shake for lunch, then that's going to be great for me. Great fats, good protein. It's going to be a good thing. I just have to watch what the rest of the stuff that I eat. And then I'm going to figure out what a good breakfast will be and make sure I get that taken care of. But I'm excited. I mean, I get to add foods in there, but fish is a soft food. If I ate eggs, that's kind of a soft food. Those are things that are going to be very easy on my digestive system as I move into getting into regular food again. Anyway, jumping way into the show, let's talk about the Olympics. So I was partially right and partially wrong. I mean, I feel like my predictions have been pretty good. Yesterday, I predicted that America would probably drop out of the number 1 slot, and then Australia would move into the number 3 slot based on the activities. And then when I say activities, the events that were available yesterday, I thought, okay, several of them are definitely lean in the favor of the Chinese, and several of them lean in the favor of Australia. And here's what my predictions are. All right, so let's take a look and see how close I was. Bam. Okay. America still number 1, baby, still number 1. So America ended up not only, yesterday they were tied with the Chinese, and the reason they were in the number 1 slot was overall medal count, which no one can touch them on overall medal count. There's 4 days left, I believe, of the Olympics, and at this point, I don't think, based on the number of events left there, that any of the other countries can come back and actually top the United States for total medals. So I'm fairly confident there. But as far as I said, as long as they kept tying the total medal count, we'd be in a number 1, but it would be nice if we could push ahead, but I didn't think it would happen. I thought the Chinese would definitely take the position back over. So here's where we're at today. The United States in first place with 24 medals. China, second place with 22. So we are now 2 gold medals ahead and over 26 total medals on the total medal count ahead of China. So I think there's a chance we could hold first place. Australia moved into number 3. My Australian brethren and sisters there, congratulations. You guys have now moved up ahead of France. France moved to number 4. Great Britain stayed at 5. Korea stayed at 6. Japan stayed at 7. Great Britain 12. Korea 11. Japan 11. Italy has never moved from the number 8 spot. It is still at number 8 solidly with 9 gold medals. Netherlands is still is at 9th with 8, and Germany is at 10th with 8. Canada is still holding at 11th, but it's moving so far down the line of gold medals that it's going to be harder. It's going to be really hard for them to jump back up. I mean, there is still 5 days, but Congratulations, United States, for not just tying and beating them by the total medal count, but by actually pulling ahead in the gold medals. That glad to be wrong on that one. I'm totally glad to see. I wish I knew what they won the medals in. I didn't, unfortunately, my day is too busy to go and do it. I get the numbers, but I don't go back and read exactly where the medals are. Maybe next Olympics, if I'm still streaming. Okay, let's talk about total medal count now. United States is at 24, 31, 31 for a total of 86 medals, first place in both categories. China is number 2 in both categories, 22, 22, 16 for a total of 60. That is the closest person to us. Australia, 14, 12, 10 for a total of 36. France is at 48, 13, 16, 19. Great Britain, 46 with 12, 15, 19. Korea is at 26 with 11, 8, and 7. Japan is at 29 with 11, 6, and 12. Italy is at 26 with 9, 10, 7. Netherlands is at 19 with 8, 5, 6. And Germany is at 17 with 8, 5, 4. The interesting thing is, if you were looking at total medal count, Canada would jump back up to 10th and Germany would be 11th. And so that is your Olympic medal count for today. Again, so happy to be wrong. It's nice to see America in there twice and America to legitimately be taking the lead. So cheers to our Olympians. One only sad thing about I did notice on the Olympics was we lost one of the first times we've lost in a swimming event to the Chinese, which was the Melody. I think that's what it's called. We've been dominant in several swimming sports for decades, and we finally lost that medal. And I was reading as soon as it happened. Because we do business in Asia and our office is in Singapore. I told you I watch kind of the market and I watch things that are going on, because it actually helps overall with understanding what's going on, in our markets and the places that our investors are in and things like that. And so I was shocked because on the news over there, I was watching, reading things, and it was like, Chinese break long streak of Americans in swimming. And I was like, oh, what? And then I got to see what was going on. And I was like, okay, well, streaks can't go on forever. And so if we're going to lose one, that's when it's okay to lose, I think. It can't always be dominant. Can't always do things like that. So there you go. All right. The news. Storm still being talked about. I think one of the things that it's striking me about what's going on in the world is right now the Olympics are going on. The Olympics is supposed to be a sign of cooperation and peace and this, that, and the other. And we've talked about what's been going on in Bangladesh. The things in Bangladesh right now are horrible. I was reading today, and I'm trying to see if I can still find the story, but they were talking about how 91 or 101 or something like that people had been killed already in this riot. And I'm just like, that's an astronomical. We have riots in lots of countries. There's riots going on in Venezuela. We've had riots in the United States, many times over the years. you hear about one, maybe two people getting killed. You hear about a lot of people getting hurt and beat up and, things like that. It's, which like what's going on in the UK right now, which will be the next thing I segue into. But, to hear 91 people got killed, have been killed so far in the riots, it, you have to know, for that sort of violence, for that many people to get killed. Two people died in the UK during the riots over there. I believe it was two young boys that gotten stabbed, right? And that sort of violence happens, and it's horrible. But when you have the kind of uprisings that are going on in the UK right now, it's not, or anywhere in the world, and Venezuela, or if it happened in the United States, inevitably people get hurt, and unfortunately, occasionally someone or a few people get killed. And it's horrible, and you hate for it to happen. These are definitely not peaceful protests, but the anger and the things that have to be going on in a country for 91 people to get killed, that's a battle. I know I like history. I like especially military history, and reading about individual battles and things like that. I think you can gain a lot of insight on with things like that. And you come to realize when you read about these stories and hear the numbers and things like that, it's like it helps you in your head kind of go through about how bad war is, because every one of those people had families. Every one of those people, the pain, the suffering, death is never easy. Battle is never easy. And it's usually just not the battle. There's usually a lot of anguish and pain and exhaustion and everything when you're leading up to it. And there are battles, major battles that have happened that don't have 91, casualties. And when I say casualties, I mean deaths, not like injuries, in it. That's an incredible number. And so when I was reading that, I had to keep saying, what is going on over there that is so bad that 91 people would give their lives to fight for whatever side of the argument they're on? Because a battle is two groups, two people, two countries that have misaligned, or they disagree on a topic, political, social, social, economic, and they disagree, and the disagreement is so bad that it comes to blows. And a protest is a group or groups of people, because protests can have both sides at a protest, that again disagree so much that they feel like they have to get their side out, and they do. And for it to turn into a 91 person death count at a protest, that's some serious passion, my friends. Unless the death count is because the military or someone came in, a Tiananmen Square, right? Where the government comes in and says, okay, disperse or we're taking you down, and they take them down, and that number comes from that. I did not get to get the research, and I still can't find the story. I didn't get to get the research yesterday to see where the 91 came from. But whatever it is, when the government tells you to leave and you stay, and they start using lethal force and 91 people get killed, that means when it started, people still stayed and tried to fight the government. And that's mind-blowing to me, completely mind-blowing that would happen. So, which leads me into the UK. So, there's been a lot of, we'll call them protests again. That wouldn't be the word I would use, right? The news, especially the more left you go when they're trying an election year where they're trying to these stories are kind of buried. They're not like front page. When I read 91 people dead, that's front page news to me, right? But you have to go into the world section and then go through here, and I have to go through and read all the stories. And I look at that and I'm like, why is that not like a top line? Even if it's the top line in the world news, why is it not a top line item? Why are we talking about, the stories that CNN, Fox, the newspapers, the New York Times, everything else, if you go on the websites and you look up there and you try and you look at, get the headlines for today, it's still light, fluffy stories. Deadpool's, still number one in the things, blah, 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 which is relevant in the sense that if I want to, that should be top front page of the entertainment section. And if I'm interested in that, I need something light, I go to that. I go to the front page to see what's going on in the world and in the US that is like, oh my God, I need to know that. And I have to go through 50 fluff stories. I don't care what the Kardashians are doing right now. That shouldn't be a front page story. Not that was, but it, you know what I'm saying? And, but the UK should have been on the front page for quite a while now because they've been having some serious protests over there. And, the story that I grabbed was like the UK is facing the worst disorder it has seen in more than a decade as outbreaks of the far-right anti-immigrant violence swept through the country. And so this has been going on for almost 2 months, I think. But I think it's almost 2 months is when I first read the first story. And at first it was protests. But now it's not protests. It's out and out rioting. There have been they're setting fires to hotels. So the one that in 2 different cities, hotels that house immigrants, that are seeking asylum in the UK were set on fire with the immigrants inside. And now, again, I don't live in the UK. I read the stories. I try to take things with a grain of salt. I don't know both sides of the story completely. I know immigration has been a problem for a while in a lot of the EU, and that multiple countries I've gone to when we're over there, you'll see. And you'll hear people that we know and we talk to. Immigration always seems to come up. It's just number of immigrants coming out of the country. Here's all the problems. Same thing we talk about in the United States about our open borders in Mexico, which is interesting because everybody criticizes us for this. But obviously, there's people that feel the same way in different countries like the UK and other EU countries. And I keep saying other, which makes it sound like the UK, EU, sort of situation. We're talking specifically about the UK specifically here, is concerned about it to the point where there's fires being set at hotels. There's people dying. They're having to bring in thousands of officers in order to fight these riots. And it's not just in one area, like one town or one, whatever they call them. I think they're towns, are having that issue, but it's all the way, it's all over the UK. These are major, I want to say, I'm going to use the word riots. I can't think of any other word to use, but when you've got hundreds, I was reading an article where it was like 600 people arrested, 300 people arrested. Some of these areas are, Iowa-sized towns, right? And when you're getting 6,000 people, or in these little towns where you've got 100 people arrested in a town of 10,000, or 300 people or 600 people, or they start throwing out all these numbers, and there are. We're talking Leeds, we're talking Rotherham, we're talking Middlesbrough, we're talking London, we're talking Bristol, we're talking Manchester, Liverpool, Southport, Blackpool. It's like it's like the number of towns that are having these protests and having these issues is huge. So again, I was telling you guys the last couple of days, pay attention to what's going on in the world right now. Economic crisis. We have problems. The economy is failing, having problems in the United States, which is affecting Asia, which is affecting Europe. We have wars. And I can't, I'm calling them wars because they're basically wars. You have the Middle East. You have major protests, which I would call almost a war. 91 people dying in Bangladesh. You got things, government issues and protests in Venezuela. I mean, right now, and again, we're in the Olympics, right? I think most of these countries, if not all of these countries, have athletes in the Olympics, and the Olympics is supposed to be a sign of peaceful cooperation between countries. It's like, let's do this. And, Russia and Ukraine are still happening. It's just like, how does all this happen? And how do you get to the point where, people are, you have to have officers. I mean, this is like Watts here in the United States in the 60s and 70s, and all the riots that we had in those areas where these, in the UK, they show officers with hoses and the beanbag guns and hitting people with their sticks. I can't think of what they use. They don't use the wooden sticks like we do. They use like a metal one that pops out. I can't think of the name of it right now. A sap, and it's like, this is serious stuff. And so, we just need to be aware that it's going on in the world. Any day you wake up, you can, there's something going on bad someplace. Usually I feel like the world is pretty balanced. So while one section of the world or one country is on fire, everybody else is singing Kumbaya for the most part. And the world keeps turning, and the economy keeps turning, and everything's okay. And occasionally, that's how world wars start and everything else. You get to a time when there's too many fires. And when you get too many fires in too many different directions, the resources are thin and things just burn. And that's kind of where I feel like we're teetering right now. And that also allows, which was the only other thing I was going to talk about, that also allows things to get swept under the news carpet, if you will. And one of the things that has popped up, and I've seen a couple different times from a couple different news sources, is that there's top scientists around the world that are supposedly sounding the alarm or claiming that there is a new pandemic on the horizon. And it seems like we've already done this. And, and it says that, that the scientist warns that another pandemic is not only inevitable, but could be worse than COVID-19. And they've identified some, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, and this scientist in Hong Kong, and it's a couple others that have been saying that this new pandemic is on the horizon. And, I happened on it by hitting I was looking through my health, H-E-A-L-T-H, health stories, trying to find information about diabetes and things like that. I've been, obviously heavily into that. We're talk about where I am with my diabetes stuff in a second. And like buried on page 9 of the stories, that's where this story was. And I was like, seems to me this happened with COVID too. At first, it was like, it was reported, and no major network was talking about it. And no one would even cover it. And then it got bad enough where everybody had to cover it. And, my attitude on a lot of this stuff is, is it being covered up for a reason? And And, everybody sounds a whistle. There's always these kind of things, but you would think after COVID, we'd at least learn a lesson that you'd bring it up and at least make people aware that there's a concern. Um, and then let people make their own decisions based on the information that continues to come out. But do we really want to wait until it is a problem before it ever makes page maybe 9, as opposed to the page 11 of a subcategory of a subcategory? So I typed it in and I tried to search it, and I found it in a couple different sources, but they were all buried. None of them would be a top line story. Now, it's not my job to monitor this stuff. It's not the end of the world, I guess, if it doesn't come up. But I just feel like we don't learn from our past lessons. And so if this guy's legitimate and he's a legitimate doctor or researcher that has information that he is willing to publish, and there are other researchers or doctors or research scientists that will back his claim and say they have the same concerns, then why not at least make it an interestingly enough story or put it forward enough so people can go, oh, well, that's concerning. Maybe we should be looking at it. Now, people would say, oh, it's because they don't want to start a panic. Okay, have you read some of the stories they put on there? They over-sensationalize things that cause a panic that you don't need to over-sensationalize. And then things that are potentially really a story that we should we should acknowledge exists as opposed to ignoring it. They say, oh, we don't want to cause a panic, so we move it to the back. We posted it, right? I don't know. Confusing times. I don't get it. I feel like the media is not even worth checking anymore. Just post everything on the AP, the Associated Press. Give us access to that, and we'll just read the stories that the writers are writing. You can't trust any of these news sources or newspapers anymore to evaluate the stories and put them out there without an agenda, because that's what I feel like it all is. It's a political agenda that says, okay, these stories aren't helping any of the causes that we're looking at, so do this, do that. Hey, good day. How's it going, Dogman77? Thank you for popping on and joining for a few minutes. I don't know. I believe it was Shakespeare that said, kill all lawyers. Yeah. I think we should, it should be, kill all media. It's like, and I'm talking news media. I think it's worthless nowadays. I don't think they give us the right information. I think it's less fact and more opinion based. And I can get that on Twitch, and I can get that on YouTube. I mean, there's a couple of I don't even know what the numbers are anymore, but tens of millions of people over there giving me their opinion, and they're probably just as valid as the opinions I'm reading in these papers now, because I don't believe. And then on top of that, I think one last thing that's interesting before I move on. I should have called Wednesday Soapbox Day, because I really feel like I'm on the soapbox today. Is what happened to integrity in journalism? Nowadays, they can write anything they want and post it and just use the word alleged or whatever. It still does the harm. And even when they find out that it's wrong, they don't print retractions anymore. It used to be that if you slandered someone, or you have slander and you have libel, right? One is verbal and one is written. And it used to be, if someone said something that was disparaging or incorrect, mostly incorrect, and they knew it, you would say, I'm going to sue you for libel, or I'm going to sue you for, and you never hear that anymore. Why? Is because it's a waste. The courts have decided, it's like, as long as you throw a couple words in there, CNN could blatantly lie to you. The guy, you could have someone get on here like me, and I could say, today Donald Trump raped, Harris on the Democratic convention floor, blah 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 blah, alleged by such and such. Well, everybody's only going to hear the first part. First of all, that I think would be an interesting video, but seeing Donald Trump try to chase her around and try to catch her, but not going to happen. It's like that's sensationalized, and that headline is going to draw tons of people, and they're going to have a great clickbait of Donald Trump chasing her, with his hands out, and blah blah blah. And again, it'll probably all be AI generated and everything else. People watch the story. The people that watch the story all the way through will realize, okay, it was alleged by someone, didn't happen. They were in completely different areas, blah, 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 blah. But unfortunately, because of things like TikTok and Twitter, we only read things that are so many characters long anymore. We only watch things and keep our interest for something that's under a minute. I mean, and our attention span is shrinking so much. It used to be you watch a YouTube and it was an hour YouTube. Then it was 45 minutes and 30 minutes. And now you got shorts. And everybody I know is stopping doing the longer content. And they all want to put on shorts. And you have shorts, and you have you have your stuff on YouTube, or YouTube. YouTube is shorts. And you have reels, and you have your TikToks. I mean, everybody's attention span is 30 seconds or under a minute, under 60 seconds. And because of that, that is feeding what's happening with this information we get on the news, because the soundbite they use and the video at the beginning of the story, as long as that under that 60 seconds is telling lies, and then after 60 seconds they kind of qualify it, then go, so you make the judgment, or whatever they end up saying to say it was basically a story. Nobody ever gets to that. True story. I was watching my youngest daughter. That's a good question. Who do we trust then? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, you have companies like Fox that say, the news group you can trust. I mean, it's like, you can't, there's none of them, because the rules have changed. And I think that's what the problem is trust is no longer what the things are. What they say they want to do is they want to give opinion and let you form your own. But if you have no facts, you trust, I trust you, Da Vinci. Well, thank you, dog, man. Don't trust me. As I keep saying, not a doctor, not a lawyer. What I am is a person with an opinion like everybody else. And after 55 years of being on this earth and seeing, well, I'll be completely candid about it. Telling my own large number of lies and misinformation, from growing up to dating women to whatever else, to being here now and working in the industry that I do. And traveling around the world and actually going to meetings where they say, here's how we're going to make this statement. And you'll go, well, that's not accurate. And they go, it's mostly accurate. And as long as we have this at the end, they can formulate their own opinion. Farm Don was talking about yesterday, but we were talking about these cards and how they do it. And they go, this is good for this. This is good for that. This is good for this. And in the fine print at the bottom, it says, none of this has been agreed with or approved by the FDA. None of the things that we say have been substantiated by any tests or whatever. And as long as they put that at the bottom of it, they can sit there and say, by taking an ice cube and rubbing on your earlobe, your junk will grow 10 inches. And they can legitimately say that because they've got that little note at the bottom that you read. But no one reads the notes, right? And that's how I feel the news is. It's like no one finishes the statements. No one does anything. And it used to be, if you lied on the news or you lied on a TV advertisement, there were repercussions. You could get sued. You could get fined. I mean, I remember growing up, and I don't know how old most of you people are, but it's like you would occasionally read. The reason why you printed a retraction saying we gave misinformation of this on the newspaper, or a news anchor would have to come up and apologize and say, yesterday we stated this, but we have now learned this, and this is the corrective information, because the FCC would fine you if someone reported that you inaccurately reported information. And the rules were finite about what you could do and what you could not do intentionally. And then a lot of those rules got adjusted and overturned. And now it's like, as long as you put a qualifier statement in there, you're saying you're giving an opinion, not a fact. And if it's not a fact, it's not libel or slander. What? Okay. So, I mean, God, I wish that was happening when I was growing up. There's a lot of things I would have liked to have given my opinion on about some of my teachers and people I've met in different companies and say, oh, but it's just an opinion. That's not a fact. You're not a fat blank. It's like, I don't, I think it depends on the news source. What agenda do you think the news has? I think the news has, number one, a financial agenda. They need to make sure that they are still making money and they seem relevant. I mean, in the world of YouTube and Twitch, how many people are actually getting their news from the news? How many of them are, that's part of the problem, which is, half the stories and things I read or come up on TikTok, it's a repeat of a repeat of a repeat, right? And it's the telephone game. And everybody reads that and they believe it. The second thing is that I think that there's a big political agenda from the right or the left or whomever, depending on what news source you're listening to. I mean, you have to admit, anybody with even the slightest amount of a brain has to admit that it's more prevalent and easier to spot now than it ever has been. Someone comes up with a statement, right? I sit there, and today I'm a news reporter, and I sit there and I'm reporting on Donald Trump. And then he does something, and I'll make a statement saying that was a harebrained idea. And then all of a sudden, every news source on the left is using that exact same term. And do you think that what they did is they heard the first person do it? No, because they're all broadcasting at the same time. And so it's like there is definitely agendas and there's definitely misrepresentations, and they all use the same inaccurate information, and it's the right and the left. And that's what makes it so hard to sort through. I mean, I used to enjoy watching the news, right? And as far back as you can go, there's always been a right and a left, and there's always been basic opinion. But if you watched Walter Cronkite on the news and he said, we're covering the Apollo landing and this is what happened, you could turn it to every channel and that's all they're saying, because they're stating a fact. Simple information. They're not giving opinion. They're not trying to spin a story. They're not trying to sensationalize it. It's, Neil Armstrong just landed on the moon. He just took a step. It's fact. And newspapers used to be that. It used to be the writer would put it inside there and they have their craft of how they worded it, but you could go through and circle statements and say, is that fact or opinion? And most things nowadays, if you went through a newspaper or went through an article, I challenge you to do this, it's kind of fun, is go through and look at all the statements and then look before and after it and look if it was a statement of fact or a statement of opinion. You'll find an article. I've done this with all three of my daughters. I'll go through there and circle everything in red that's a fact and everything in yellow that's opinion. And you will have all yellow. You might have one or two statements in the entire article that you circle in red. And everything else will be qualified as an opinion by the things that are written above and below it. And so, I don't know. And then again, we were talking about like how they bury stories. It's like, I get it. There's only so much space, but if you're a news source, I don't know how you miss something big like what's going on in the UK. How do you not talk about how in so many cities, buildings are burning, riots are happening, everything else, especially when it ties into the economic situation that's going in the US. We talked about it 3 days ago. Japan lost an entire years of gains. Venezuela's over 50% inflation. United States, we're higher than we've ever been. It's like and not ever been. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Don't take my opinion on any of this because that was a misstatement. But our inflation is higher than it has been in a while. I went to go buy food yesterday before I leave for my trip for the house, and I looked up the bill, and it was like, okay, I bought all this stuff 2 weeks ago, and my bill was actually $15 higher than it had been the last time I went to the store for the exact same grocery list. Because we buy basics every 2 weeks, and it's the same thing. We have an actual list. And I just looked and I go, did I buy anything extra? Why is it more? It was the exact same list. $15 more. And mostly it was in meat and dairy. Our eggs went up, it looked like 75 cents. The milk had gone up like $1. Now, we buy 3 gallons of milk, so that's $3, and we buy some things of eggs. So it wasn't like $15 over 15 different items, and they'd all gone up significantly. But it was $15 more for the exact same item purchase. And regardless of, it's just, wow, that's ridiculous. It's like a gas price where you move into summer and your gas goes from $2 to $3 a gallon. Forgive me if you live in California, because I know you guys are paying way more than we are. But whenever I talk to a friend, I go, yeah, I just paid $3 a gallon. And they'd go, F you. Yeah. They live in Los Angeles, and they're like, you know how much I'm paying for gas? So, but yeah, I think that the news has gotten to the point where when you read it, you have to read it with certain color. You have to put on your glasses and look at it and actually pay attention to it. If you're listening to it, listen to the thing the entire way through, so you find out if what they're stating is actually a fact, or if it's basically, we heard from this person that this person did this, and and that's opinion, right? That's not, there's no basis of fact in that story. And it's you get the sensational portion at the beginning. And and now for my last a couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about this is no different than the marketing, what we talked about yesterday, which is the placebo effect, which the deeper I get into doing my diabetes stuff and everything else, the more I'm finding the placebo effect. So I bought another product, which I'll be introducing when we get back from our trip, that I'll be about 2.5, 3 weeks into Rise. And so we'll have a good feeling if Rise is doing anything for me. I will be 2 weeks into the supplementation, which, again, tonight, 7 p.m., we'll be talking to the CEO of Stout Nutrition, who's Billy the Trainer Club Let's suggested I'd use their product because he believes it's a good quality product. So I'll be a couple of weeks into supplementation, and I'll be able to tell you from a completely liquid diet to using the supplementation with a better food mix, how I'm feeling, and if I feel like it's doing me any good. But be bringing in this new product, and this new product has a tremendous amount of claims, tons of sales, and a huge number of reviews all the way down on the different social media platforms saying how awesome the product is. I went to a Reddit afterwards, after I was reading these, and I started reading all these Reddit posts, people saying, okay, I'm now at 2 weeks using this stuff, and I feel like it's doing nothing for me. And this was great at the beginning, and now I'm not doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't just a few, it was hundreds of posts. And I started going back, and I started going through the thing, and I realized almost all the good comments on this product, it was people, I just got this, and I've been taking it for a week, and I'm seeing tremendous results, or I'm feeling great, or whatever the statement was. And I goes back to what I was talking with Farm Don about, which is that's the placebo effect. That social media marketing companies have become so smart about building up and getting all these people to give testimonials about what the product does. And they do it and they encourage you the second you get the product, join our social media. And then they start hitting you with text messages and emails when you join and you like saying, are you trying our product? Post a video, post this, copy us, we'll share it, we'll do this, we'll do that. And because at the beginning, you feel that placebo effect and you start feeling great and you believe it's working for you. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. And that's what they build their reputation on. And they build their sales on. And then again, most people will not go back and post something bad. And, they don't take the time or they think it's them. That's the biggest thing. All these things, all these cards and all these other things saying results, results may differ from other people. And then then you have a Q&A, which gives you all the reasons it may fail, right? It may fail if you have blue eyes and dark hair. It's better with people that have, brown eyes and dark hair or light eyes and blonde hair. But if you have light hair and dark eyes or vice versa, there is a chance it may fail. Whatever they come up with, because they want to make those failures about you, right? It's not their product that failed. It's you that failed. And, and that's a horrible way for people to feel, especially this product. It's a subscription product and it's like a couple $100 a month for this product. So if I did it for a year, it'd be like, we'll just say $2,400. But I haven't announced what the product is yet, so I don't know. And I don't like giving prices officially until I get the product in the mail and I with the Rise, I showed you the invoice and showed what it is, because multiple times I've gotten the product and what they tell you they're charging you on the breakdown, it's like, okay, we're charging you $49.95 and this is your blah, 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 blah. And then when you get the breakdown, it's like your monthly subscription is this, but you got a discount so you're going to see a completely different number going forward, which again is perfectly legal. And so I like to get that and look at the breakdown. I show the breakdown on air like I did with Rise. And then, we go from there. Now, I did say I was going to report I'm going to do that very quickly on Rise. I did reach out and I have watched it again. And there is on their order sheet, when you go and you actually order Rise, hidden in a very, very tough spot to find inside all their thing, that when you buy the first pack and everything else, you are signing up for a subscription going forward, and that your subscription will be coming separately, and that it's obviously an evergreen program. And by giving them permission to charge your card the first time, you're giving them permission to charge your card ongoing until you cancel. Cancellation is blah, 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 blah. And you do have a period of time to send back the subscription product in order to get your money back. Okay. So on the show next week, where I said I would actually cover it and I shot the video of the stuff and everything else, we'll go through that, but very, very sneaky. And so those people on the Reddit were right. So again, I've read nothing in any of the comments or any of the reviews or in any of the videos that made that comment, where the couple of times that they were posted, after I went to look for them again, they completely disappeared. Now, again, I said, I'm not going to call anybody on something and say, okay, they took it down. I do think that they probably have it where it's either hidden or it's moved down far enough down the list that it was just very difficult for me to find. But thank you for that person who sent me that link to say, okay, this is what's being said after those reviews. And I went and looked it up. And then I said, I told you guys all my personal experience right after I got that. The next day I walked into the mailbox and I got a subscription product that I didn't order. Yeah, I ordered the main box, but I didn't order the subscription. And only to find out, yeah, I did. And so these two Harvard kids, they get it. They get what's going on with this new stuff. As long as you put a little qualifier in there someplace, man, you can jack everybody. And so now I'm going to find out, since I bought a 30-day supply. I was going to order twice more because I said I was going to do this for 90 days. So I'm going to keep the subscription for this subscription that I just got here. I'm going to let it go one more month and get a second batch. And then I'm going to attempt on air to cancel the subscription. and will report how difficult it is to actually cancel that subscription. Even if the product was good, I'm going to do that just so I can see and show you guys how that works. I find often that it's not always easy. All right. So overall, diabetic stuff's going very well. I'm still doing the complete liquid diet, haven't cheated. Again, I'm feeling fit and trim. Tomorrow, I'm feeling like I'm probably going to say 10 pounds of loss. And I'm going to say my blood sugar is definitely going to be down. And we'll go into the next phase, which is going from the liquid diet to a more solid diet. I think that also from a cognitive and a ability to go ahead and not be tired and work through things, I think my body has balanced itself. I did a full day of regular work yesterday without feeling really tired, and outside getting ready for my trip and taking care of the animals and prepping things and taking care of all that stuff, which is very physical. And I think my caffeine issues are gone. So it's now been, I guess, 9, 10, 11 days without coffee. I was definitely feeling that at the beginning, but now I'm feeling pretty good. I don't feel like the caffeine withdrawals. So I think that I'm going pretty solid. My body is also adjusted to everything. We talked at the very beginning, you kind of get gassy, you get achy, your bowel movements are completely messed up. And all that is stabilized. I feel like everything that was in my gut that it's been there for a while has probably processed through. I feel like my gut is pretty healthy. One of the things I will be talking about on the asking a question about is going back to solid food. Should I be adding a probiotic for healthy gut as I start eating solid food again? The other thing I'm going to do, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I got a message on my phone. One of the things that we also want to talk about is potential sugars or everything else I can use as sweeteners. I don't want to use artificial sweeteners. So again, if you want to find out what's going with Billy the Trainer Club Lutz, he's got several big announcements tonight. We will have the CEO of Stout Nutrition on. We'll be announcing the rest of our guests for the next couple of weeks here. We have some really, really cool ones. The announcement that Billy is making tonight, he actually is making 2 or 3 announcements. But one of them, no matter what, if you're watching this because you just found things, found it, or you came over from a different side, everything else. If you play Pokemon Go, play Pokemon Blue, any of that stuff, tonight's going to be a kind of a big announcement. We're going to be giving a ton of giveaways that we received as part of this this journey. And then from the Jeep side, the companies we are working with on Jeep, I know we have several people that are into Jeep that follow the outdoor show and everything else. We're working with the company that's going to be giving away some very cool prizes for your 4-wheel vehicle. And we're talking about thousands of dollars. The lift that we're putting on the Jeep that we're leaving for today, Billy left for today and tomorrow, it's a $10,000 lift. And we can't wait to show it to you guys on there. It just completed Moab, which is one of the toughest 4x4 trails in the United States. It was just approved by Jeep for sale by Jeep, the Jeep dealerships to put on their vehicle. It's amazing, and it's going to be fun to put it on our Rubicon, and we'll be testing it live. We'll be doing in real life video of going out and taking it on the Jeep Badge of Honor challenges in several states. So come check that out. Have a good day. I got to get ready to travel, but we'll see you guys. If anybody you guys can join, 7:00 tonight, Central Standard Time, again with Billy Lutz from Trainer Club and the CEO of Stout Nutrition to talk about his product and other products, and the reason that they can get away with certain things without the FDA and things like that. So I hope you have the rest of your day is awesome, and we'll talk to you soon.